everybody, I am going to show you my no-fail bread recipe. Works for me every time. I don't have any problems with it. Works every single time. So I guess this is another episode of Cooking with Casey, but it's not going to be in the big truck. It's going to be here in my house. And I'm going to challenge a buddy of mine on YouTube, BowStar Crowe. I'll put his name down in the bottom, his channel down in the bottom, or off to the side, or wherever I can get it to go. But I will put his channel where you can get to it and check him out, because I'll tell you what, he is very funny. He's really good. He does a lot of cooking, and you will just enjoy BowStar Crowe. This man is awesome, and this is kind of a challenge to him. I'm going to show him my no-fail bread recipe and see how he likes it, and then see if he can show me later on his bread recipe if he has one. If not, I'd like to see him challenge me back on something. Alright, hang around. I'll get things set up where I can do this and show you my recipe. God bless. I'll be right back. Okay, and here goes the recipe. I need 2.5 cups of flour. 1, 2.5 2.5 tablespoons of yeast, or a package. 1, 2.5. 3 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2, 3. First one wasn't a whole one, so there we go. There's your sugar. 2 tablespoons of butter. Softened butter. 1 cup of water. Close the lid. I set that for 1.5 pounds of bread. I only use this bread machine to mix my bread, and then I don't bake it in here because I don't like those funky loaves. But I do use bread machine yeast, and there's the yeast I use. Bread machine yeast, instant yeast, rapid rise. That's what I use. And we'll start it. Now we'll let this knead for a little while. I can open this lid. Every now and then we'll need to scrape down the sides here so that it all gets mixed up. I'll knead it twice in here. I'll knead it, let it rise, knead it, let it rise, and then we'll put it in the pans. We'll be right back. Now here it is kneading. Like I said, we'll have to get in here every now and then. Scrape down the sides. The first time anyway. Second time you usually don't have to do this after it's rised. I usually spray a little oil on the sides of the pan. I didn't do it this time. It helps it to keep from sticking so much. But it's going to be a little sticky dough anyway. Now it is done kneading the first time. I'll let it sit here and double in size. This recipe usually takes 1 teaspoon of salt too, but I don't put the salt in it because my son's not allowed to have salt. He's got medical problems with his kidneys, and he stops by and eats with us every now and then, so I don't put salt in my bread. But normally you'd put 1 teaspoon of salt in here. Okay, now I have kneaded it, and I have floured it a little bit so it quit sticking inside there, and then it kneaded again. Now I spray my pans. This recipe makes 1 loaf of bread. This small recipe makes 1 loaf of bread. We turn it out and get some flour on my hands. It's not coming completely out, so we got to reach in there and dig it out. It's a sticky dough, like I said. I didn't get enough flour on my hands, really. Get some more flour. Get some flour on there. Some flour on my hands. And we're going to be kneading it. Just a little bit. See how it's starting to come together? A little more flour. I basically just go ahead and get it in a log. Just like that. Nothing fancy. Put it in my pan. My pan's already greased. Oven set at 375. So we're going to let that rise. After it rises, we'll stick it back in the oven at 375. I leave it on the oven so the heat from the oven helps it to rise. We'll be back in just a little bit. Okay, everybody, here we are. You want to cover it up with a towel. That kind of helps hold the heat in. I got the oven on, so the heat's coming up to help it rise. Got the towel over it to kind of help hold the heat in. Take the towel off. Here's your bread all nice and risen. Now I don't let my bread get real tall because I got one of these little plastic bread boxes here that I have to fit my bread in. As you can see, it's not real big. It's about the size of a slice of bread. That'll rise a little bit more when I put it in the oven, and if I let it get too big, it won't fit in here. So we just stick it in a 375 degree oven. About 15 to 18 minutes, depending on your oven. So you just keep checking on it when the top gets as brown as you want it, and you can pick it up and pluck on it, and it sounds like it's done. Then it's done. So we'll get back with you here in just a little bit when we pull it out of the oven and show you what it looks like. Okay, it's time to take out the bread. What we do next, get it out, check it out, make sure it's at the brownness we want. You can get it get the crust any brownness you want. We kind of like a light brown. Put it up here on the cooling rack. Thump it. When it sounds like that, it's done. Next thing we do, like I said, my son's not allowed to have salt, so we use some unsalted butter. You can use salted butter. I use salted butter on mine when I know he's not going to be around. And we just want to coat the top of the bread. If not, your bread will get real hard on top. Now what we want to do after we get that coated is we really want to get it out of that pan as fast as we can, because if we don't get it out of that pan, the bread will sweat. So we get it out of there. Turn it up on that cooling rack, and we'll let her cool. As soon as that's cool, we'll slice it. Now, I did push that top in a little bit when I was dumping it out, but isn't that a good looking loaf of bread? I'll put the recipe in the description. And just remember, we need to go see BowStar Crowe. BowStar Crowe does a lot of good recipes. He's a good cook. He's a funny guy. And this is kind of a challenge to him for him to show me his bread recipe if he has one. If he don't have one, he can make something else and challenge me to show him mine. God bless. Have a great day.